morning, I would take a look at how Tzu Chi volunteers assist El Salvador residents following the 2001 earthquake. We learn what Taiwan's government is doing to ensure citizens will have food and daily necessities during disasters. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. In Malaysia, as the al-Fitr festival nears, Muslims across the country are getting ready to celebrate the annual event. However, Tzu Chi care recipient Aziza, who recently lost her mother, was unable to feel the joy of the upcoming holiday. Apart from her mother's passing, Aziza needs to find means to tend to her children and the other sick family members. Thankfully, Tzu Chi volunteers have been there to provide the family much-needed support and help them get back on their feet.
Although al-Fitr draws near, Aziza and her family find no joy in this festival.
We will still celebrate al-Fitr no matter what happens, but this year it will not be as enjoyable as in previous years because my mother just passed away and I'm still ill, not feeling very comfortable.
Not long ago, Aziza underwent surgery to treat her infected eyes, following which her mother fell sick and soon passed away. For Aziza, losing her mom was hard to bear.
After she got married, she still lived with her mother. They never separated and she had a very close mother-daughter relationship.
Not only looking after her wheelchair-bound sister and diabetic husband, Aziza has to find means to raise her children too. Thankfully, Tzu Chi volunteers have been offering support to the family for 4 years.
This family has been suffering from sickness and poverty. They need a long-term supply of medications. However, the psychological agony is no less than physical pain.
In celebration of al-Fitr, Tzu Chi volunteers bring gifts to Aziza's family. Seeing that Aziza is uncomfortable, one volunteer and her grandson give Aziza a massage. Their kind gesture moves the care recipient to smiles.
Recently, Taiwan's Tzu Chi University students flew to the Philippines for volunteer work. There, they not only took part in a free clinic in Manila to learn from local team members, but also joined their counterparts from Eastern Visayas State University to help assemble prefabricated classrooms.
Go, go, go! Tzu Chi, Tzu Chi, Tzu Chi! Mabuhay! ESO! Go, go, go! Tzu Chi, Tzu Chi, Tzu Chi! Mabuhay! ESO!
Today, Tzu Chi University medical students from Taiwan are in Tacloban City's Eastern Visayas State University to join their counterparts in assembling prefabricated classrooms. Students work with extra attentiveness when it comes to the installation of the steel frames. Guiding the students with the assembly is local volunteer Defo Langpei, who once was into drugs but has started life anew thanks to Tzu Chi.
My wish is very simple. I want to start a new life. I'm now not welcomed in my hometown, and now my only goal is to start over.
Tapos isa lang ang gusto ko, layunin ko lang sa buhay ngayon, magbagong buhay.
Regardless of the language barrier and different backgrounds, the students from Taiwan easily communicate with the local volunteers through body language and a shared heart of giving.
Actually, there is no problem at all for us to communicate. Students and volunteers in the Philippines understand English. Even though we sometimes come across something we don't understand, we can still use our body language to get our message across.
Back in Manila, medical students join local team members at a free clinic, offering basic services and emotional support to patients.
After today's free clinic, I realized that doctors and patients actually share a trusting relationship, similar to that of a friendship. Doctors provide medical services to patients, while patients show their gratitude to doctors.
During their overseas visit, these students have learned more of the love and compassion they cannot find in books, and their experience in volunteering has helped them cultivate themselves not only as doctors, but also as people.
Following the 2001 7.6 magnitude earthquake in El Salvador, Tzu Chi built 2 Great Love villages with 1,175 homes in Sacacoyo and Chamico. Looking back, Vice President Oscar Ortiz says not only did Tzu Chi volunteers bring material aid, they also brought love to the survivors during their most difficult times. Tzu Chi's assistant marked an important chapter in the country's history and left an unforgettable footprint in the residents' lives.
We are so grateful to the Tzu Chi Foundation because they have never forgotten about us.
San Juan La Cheba is a small remote village in El Salvador. Tzu Chi first set foot here in 2001 and has never left. El Salvador and United States Tzu Chi volunteers brought computers, clothes, soccer balls and toys as gifts for the children.
This time they brought 2 boxes of clothing for each family, as well as computer equipment for the schools and stationery supplies for the students.
Tzu Chi's affinity with El Salvador can be traced back to January 13, 2001, the day 1.2 million people lost their homes in a 7.6 magnitude earthquake.
We experienced a deadly earthquake back in 2001. It was a huge tragedy for El Salvador. At the time, I was still the mayor of Santa Tecla, which was one of the worst hit areas. We received much help from our allies, especially assistance from Taiwan through the Tzu Chi Foundation. From then on, they have provided us with very solid support.
In the aftermath of the 2001 earthquake, Tzu Chi volunteers arrived and saw for themselves just how much help those displaced quake survivors needed. Tzu Chi then built 2 Great Love villages here to help us re-establish infrastructure. No other NGO has done what Tzu Chi has done for us.
A fourth-year architecture student at the time, Rene accepted Tzu Chi's invitation to supervise the construction work of the Great Love villages. Since then, he has been walking the Tzu Chi path for 13 years.
They were building homes, schools, and parks, and even infrastructure for water supply. Tzu Chi created many opportunities for us to help others. Helping others and doing things that make us happy nurtures our compassion. It makes people want to help more.
Establishing the Great Love Village, Tzu Chi's work marked an important chapter in El Salvador's history.
Such assistance helped the people of El Salvador get back on their feet. Volunteers not only provided material assistance, they brought love to our people in the most difficult and trying of times. Tzu Chi volunteers left an unforgettable footprint in our people's lives.
In Taiwan, it's well into summer vacation for students of all ages. How do most children spend their holiday? For those living in urban areas, besides extra tutoring sessions, there are many free or low-cost activities subsidized by the government, like the ones held at the National Taiwan Science Education Center. But what about the children from rural areas, where there's a lack of government funding for these types of resources? How do they spend their summer holiday? Let's take a look in our next report.
How do students in Taiwan get the most out of their summer vacation?
在台北的学生可以做什么？
Taipei? Oh, I don't know.
台北玩得多吗？应该也没什么地方可以去。
Don't know how to spend the summer? Living in Taipei, summer holidays can be filled with plenty of activities because there are many events big and small to attend. Some are even free of charge. During the annual Taipei Children's Arts Festival's one-month event, the festival attracts up to 200,000 attendees. Even though this is a ticketed festival, as a bonus, there are free events as well. Free of charge, children gather for story time. For parents, this is a win-win situation.
Living in Taipei is really convenient. There are tons of resources to entertain children, like the National Taiwan Science Education Center. Actually, our schedule is pretty full.
行程还蛮多。
This installation is mimicking when bugs are suddenly frightened. If you make noises at it, the louder it is, the faster it will retract.
下错速度就会越快。
On the other hand, a cartoon exhibit transports characters and scenes from TV into reality. This kind of an event is suitable for children of all ages.
The main goal of the exhibition is to attract more people to attend, so they're often held in the 5 big municipalities because there is a higher concentration of people.
With much of the summer activities concentrated in urban areas, experts believe city kids are living in the lap of luxury as compared to the county kids.
Of course, there are differences in resources between city and county governments. Taipei and New Taipei City usually hold plenty of summer activities for free.
Leaving the enriched city life behind, what do the students from rural areas do for the summer?
像我们这个应该是比较特殊吧。
My children are unique because not many children these days are willing to help out at home. Most modern parents spoil their kids and don't want them to endure hardship.
比较不会让小孩子吃苦啊。
In Yilan Sanxing Township, sorting and washing green onions are often how local children spend their summer holiday.
几岁开始就会洗虫？好像是
I think around 4 years old, I would take a loan with my mother.
工作的竞争力会担心。
Of course, I worry about her future. I fear she will fall behind others.
Compared to city kids, many children from rural areas spend their summer helping out at home instead of adding to their list of extracurricular activities in preparation for school. Experts believe this contrast in activity choices highlights the lack of educational resources children from rural areas have access to.
If they don't have the money to participate in competitions, then they won't have a record of awards and participation. Compared to children who attend, those students from the country will therefore be at a disadvantage.
But the real question is, are government-supported activities needed to have a fulfilling summer holiday? Since young, 13-year-old Wu Weihan spends half of his summer working in his family's restaurant. His busboy skills were developed in adversity.
One time over there, a customer didn't see me coming and he bumped into me when he turned around and the tray in my hand flipped over. My parents' first reaction was to see if anyone was hurt.
Wei Han and his older brother takes turns helping out at the restaurant. Their day starts at 9 in the morning preparing for lunch, a 2-hour break starting at 2 p.m., then preparation for dinner, which starts at 4 until closing at 9 p.m. In total, a workday of about 10 hours. However, Wei Han feels summer is the perfect opportunity for him to learn skills applicable to his future.
算是，还蛮高的。
所以将来会想当个厨师什么？
应该会吧。
While some kids are busy having fun, others like Wei Han are busy working to help their family make ends meet. Looking at the different ways children in Taiwan spend their summer holidays really highlights the economic imbalances across the island.
Before Typhoon Mamo arrived in Taiwan, already the prices on produce has spiked upward in anticipation of possible damage to farmlands. To ease the hit on consumers' pocketbooks, the government has released emergency stocks into the marketplace and will also distribute rice to communities isolated by disasters. Here's our report.
Torrential rainfall of the monsoon season inundates early season rice in Taiwan.
台风啊，或者
Whether it is typhoon or monsoon season, too much rain will flatten the rice panicles.
The situation for rice farmers worsens when typhoons start to arrive after July.
那风啊，
The rain nowadays is a lot more intense than before, so raindrops can easily damage rice plants, just like here.
Any small cut or chip in the plant gives bacteria and fungi an opening to invade.
像这样子就是
This is a common symptom of blight, which is caused by a type of bacterium, which leads to chlorosis of the infected leaf. When that happens, photosynthesis will be interrupted, which means no rice. The bacterium is a serious threat to rice farmers.
Torrential rains and typhoons often leave Taiwan's rice vulnerable to disease and insects.
这一些呢生活时
Organisms that have shorter life cycles, such as insects, bacteria, and especially virus, are more likely to mutate and evolve. When they do, new species will be born.
Last March, a massive outbreak of rice blast occurred in Taiwan.
As temperatures rise, the disease will prevent the grains from maturing.
The Agricultural Research Institute has built up a genetic database that contains information on some 1,700 varieties of rice and has found a species that is more tolerant to rain and pests.
8、9月台风来的时候
When typhoons come in August and September, if the stock is too high, the panicles will easily topple over during strong winds. Tainon number 79 has a shorter stalk.
稍微压低
Currently, 80 hectares of this variety of rice have been planted, and it has proved to survive better during typhoons. However, Taiwan's paddies are over 260,000 hectares in area. Thankfully, the government maintains an emergency stock for disaster relief.
常常会因为这些所谓的
Often, due to severe weather, access to remote mountainous areas will be interrupted.
中断的一个现象
At times like this, rice put aside for disasters will be put to use. The government will make sure the supplies are delivered.
前几年的话是因为整个
A big typhoon several years back seriously damaged the infrastructure roadways here, so the shelters will stock up on rice and supplies for disaster relief.
救济的相关工作。
In 2012, the Agricultural and Food Agency set aside 691 tons of vacuum-packed rice for disaster relief. The figure for 2013 is 583 tons. This year, 485 tons of rice has been set aside in case of an emergency.
用密封
Each bag is first filled with carbon dioxide and then vacuum packed. This way, it can stay fresh for 2 to 3 years.
For those trapped during typhoons, the taste of fresh hot rice is unforgettable, as Peng Yujiao of Songhe settlement recalls. During Typhoon Minduli of 2004, Peng's grocery store was destroyed by mudslides. Now 10 years later, her reopened shop also serves as an emergency supply center.
The district office cannot stock up on so many different varieties of daily necessities, so they have asked for my help. I keep an inventory of instant noodles, bread, infant formula, and diapers in case of an emergency.
With proper supplies, residents here don't have to worry, even if they are stranded due to the weather.
Whenever people here look at me, they remember the ordeals we endured together. We laughed and cried together.
Severe climates may bring about shortages in harvest and therefore shortages in food, but together we can overcome.
Moving back to Malaysia, we meet a volunteer couple from Kuala Lumpur. 8 years ago, the couple were still amateurs when it came to recycling. Their turning point came in 2006 when the eldest daughter installed DaAi TV at home. It was then that the couple truly fell in love with the practice of recycling. This plant was discarded. Someone threw it away because they didn't want it anymore. Just as we were thinking that we needed a bigger pot to plant this in, we saw this pot by the rubbish bin.
When it comes to extending an item's lease of life, Zhen Changdi has a wealth of knowledge and experience to share. Who would have thought that just 8 years ago, Zhen and her husband, Lin Shuiguang, knew nothing about recycling?
At the time, we just dropped off recyclables at the Tzu Chi recycling station on recycling day. We didn't take part in any of Tzu Chi's activities.
In 2006, their daughter, who was at Tzu Chi at the time, decided to give her parents a surprise.
When we had DaAi TV installed, she was still in college.
I'm used to waking up early every day. I get up at 5 every morning, just in time to watch Guardian of the Land at 6.
We enjoy watching the program, especially when the old bodhisattvas are on the show. Seeing what good health a 90-year-old senior bodhisattva is in and how he devotes his life to practicing recycling, we felt really embarrassed that we're just bystanders.
Even in their old age, they continue to safeguard and make our planet a better place, so we began to collect recyclables at home as well.
Since then, the couple has become actively involved in recycling and even invited their neighbors to join them when they were commissioned in 2011.
planet is sick. If we don't take action, our future generations will blame us for doing nothing. So now we're just doing our part.
Also inspired by DaAi TV's Guardian of the Land program is Liang Zhiwen.
When my mom first installed DaAi TV, I was always of the impression that there's nothing interesting to watch on DaAi TV. But after watching some programs, I was hooked. Seeing how volunteers work up a sweat doing recycling truly motivates me.
Having drifted aimlessly through life, Liang now not only makes time to practice recycling, but has even signed up for the volunteer training program.
I'm happy he's very thoughtful now.
爸妈好像是很开心哈，我看他在看着你，是吗？
对呀，因为以前他一直叫我进为指标的，越做越欢喜，做现在就进来这个吃鸡大行列。
With a change in mindset, each day is a new beginning.
Tzu Chi volunteers in Penang, Malaysia have been promoting recycling practices at the Bukit Mertajam community for 2 decades now. Having started from a factory warehouse, recycling practices have now expanded to residential areas. Recently, Tzu Chi volunteers purchased a plot of land from the government to establish the first Tzu Chi Environmental and Education Center in Bukit Mertajam.
Although it is raining heavily outside, Tzu Chi volunteers in Bukit Mertajam, Malaysia continue with their work undeterred. Having waited almost 20 years, their dream of finding a suitable venue to establish an environmental education center has finally been realized.
引进诸佛，请供灯。
This land originally belongs to the government, but it has been deserted for some time now. The government decided to sell it at a cheaper price as their contribution towards a charitable cause.
Although an environmental education center will soon be established in Bukit Mertajam, however, volunteers had already begun practicing recycling back in 1995. From a factory to residential areas, recycling can be practiced anywhere.
We started out small inside one brother's warehouse. We collected the leftover cardboard and paper from his factory and sorted it.
I'm just doing what I can. It's a blessing to be able to do something. It would be a pity if we just stood by and did nothing.
For Tzu Chi volunteers, this upcoming environmental education center will not only serve the purpose of safeguarding the environment, it will also be a place to bring community members together.
We hope that our environmental education center will be up and running soon, so we may have a permanent place to work for our Mother Earth.
I'm confident in that we now have a place of our own. Now we can call on more people to take on recycling work.
The accumulated love of all brings hope to this future environmental education center.
We go back to Taiwan at the end of the show. Northern District TMAT held a joint free clinic with the Taoyuan Deaf Mute Welfare Association to safeguard the health of the deaf mute. Thanks to collaboration between the two organizations, many participants went home with smiles on their faces. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.